I had myself on mute, so you didn't hear anything that I said. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Relationship Talks. And I'm going to do something that I have never done before. Let me see if I can do it. Is it doing it? Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can do this. I'm trying to go live on Instagram and Facebook. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. So I am live on both platforms. This is exciting. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and trying something new. So if you see me looking up, that's Instagram. If you see me looking down, that's Facebook. So, and then I have another device off to the side. Right. I had it on mute. I didn't realize I had it on mute. So I have another device off to the side so I can see the comments from Facebook. So I'm really excited about tonight. This is going to be a really great conversation because I am going to share my heart with you. I'm going to be very transparent and vulnerable with you tonight. So I hope that you will chime in. Hey, Carolee, girl. Can you hear me okay, Carolee? This is my first time doing it on Instagram. I'm excited. So I'm going to be very transparent with you. So let me know if you can hear me on Instagram while I get some people on Facebook. Yep, all good. All right, thank you. Okay. So we're going to get started in just a few moments. And tonight's conversation is going to be about releasing bitterness. I'm so excited. I got so much to share. And I want you to chime in. Like, I want to hear what you have to say. So although I will be sharing my story, I would love for you to chime in and share anything that resonates with you, anything that you can relate to, because this is going to be a great conversation. So hello. Thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Relationship Talks. All right. Okay. All right. I can't hold it any longer. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So tonight, like I said, I want to talk to you about releasing bitterness. And I want to use a recent popcorn on deck. I know, Nat, right? This is going to be juicy. Tonight, I want to talk to you about releasing bitterness. And I want to use a recent experience from my own personal life. Recently, I had a conversation with my ex-husband. We divorced in 2014. And we had never really had a conversation, like a real honest conversation since then about what happened. So I reached out to him to have that conversation, and I got to share some of the things that happened. But before I get into that conversation, I really want to give you some context as to why this was so pivotal, why this was so monumental and so important of a conversation to have. So before I get into that, this is my book, Dear Miss Wholeness. And I write a lot about what I experienced in my divorce, how I got into that situation. And so tonight, I just want you to sit with me for a few moments as I read an excerpt from my book. It's available on Amazon. If you don't have it, it's a page turner for sure. So I want to read an excerpt from my book because I really highlighted the moment that, the night that was really impactful for me as it relates to my divorce. So just bear with me for a few moments as I read this to you. Okay. And so this is the first pages of my book, Dear Miss Wholeness. So it says, "Honey, I'm home," I announced happily as I walked in the door on October 6th, 2012, the day my life changed forever. It was a little after 10 p.m. and I had just come from a dinner for my godmother who had turned 58. My two god sisters and I had taken her out to celebrate. And prior to leaving for the dinner, my husband and I had watched television and enjoyed a passionate, impromptu love-making session. High on cloud nine, I got dressed and met one of my god sisters outside so that we could ride together. Just before we left, my husband came out, chatted with us for a while, and then went back in the house. I had a wonderful evening celebrating my godmother. Eager to tell him about our time together and the good food, I was disappointed when I didn't hear a response to my greeting. But I figured he was in the office or the bathroom and just didn't hear me. I walked down the hallway and checked both rooms, but he wasn't there. Maybe he's out in the car, I thought to myself. He would often go to the car to meditate and have some quiet time since our 2-bedroom condo with the loft didn't offer much space for alone time. Although I had just come from the parking lot, I hadn't paid attention to our 10-year-old Nissan Altima parked outside to notice whether he had been sitting in it. Now I peeked through the wooden blinds toward the parking lot, but our car was empty. My mind began to wander, so I sent him a text message asking him where he was. Perhaps one of his friends came to pick him up, I reasoned. Feeling confident that he would respond shortly as he always did, I turned on the TV show Iyanla Fix My Life. That's my show, y'all. I love that show. So midway through the show, I noticed that my husband hadn't responded to my text message. So I called him. No answer. That's strange, I thought. But shortly after hanging up, I received an odd text message from him. I give up. You deserve better, so much better. What the hell? I said aloud. Stop tripping. We're in this together. Where are you? He had been feeling down lately, especially this week after being notified that he hadn't gotten the job that he was hoping for. It had been tough for both of us since he had gotten laid off from his job in February 2011. But I believe that this was the season God had us in right now and that in due time, things would get better. Seeing that my husband still hadn't responded to my earlier text messages, I fired back. So you're just going to ignore me right now? That's when my Duval came out. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. So you're just going to ignore me right now? Really? I sat on the couch confused about what was going on. What was he talking about? Where was he? Then something prompted me to go to our bedroom and look around. I glanced at the 3-drawer storage bin where his underwear, socks, and t-shirts usually were. It was empty. I walked to our closet and slid open the side of the mirrored door where his clothes hung. All his clothes and shoes were gone. Shocked, I walked to our office and looked in the closet where he stored more clothes, only to find it empty. He was gone and he had taken everything with him. So I'll stop right there. You got to get the book to find out more about that juicy story, honey. But I wanted to give you some context to let you know why this conversation that I had with him was so important. So to break it down and give you a little bit more background on this, at this time that I was just reading about in the book, I had been married. We had been married for 2 years. So you can imagine the shock, that I was experiencing, the devastation, the confusion, and all the other emotions that I was experiencing after realizing that my husband of 2 years was gone. So I was numb. He left in October of 2012. And for almost a year, I just held on thinking that, he would come back. Maybe this is just a season that we're going through. So for almost a year, did I say a year? Yeah, I held on for almost a year. So he left in October 2012, and I held on for almost a year. And then August of 2013, I found out that he had been cheating on me. Woo, child. So once again, I was devastated. At the time, I did not see it coming. I did not, expect that. When I look back on it now, there were several signs, but I just didn't see it. I had never experienced being cheated on before, so I wasn't aware of the signs or what I should be looking for. And so, as you can imagine, I felt betrayed. I felt hurt. I felt every emotion that you could think of related to this situation. Not only had he left and moved back to his hometown, but I also found out he was cheating. And so so I was more hurt, shocked, and devastated and all that kind of stuff. And I just had to face the reality that my marriage was over. So it's like, how am I going to move forward? I didn't get married to think that I was going to be divorced. So it was just a lot to deal with. But instead of just pointing a finger at him and just wanting to blame him, I chose to go to therapy because I had been thinking about going to therapy for a long time. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time, for me to figure out how in the world did I end up in this situation. And then, how do I even move forward? Because I just felt really, really lost. So I started going to therapy in September of 2013. And in therapy, I started to peel back the layers of my own life, just seeing the depression that I was dealing with, childhood trauma that I hadn't dealt with, daddy issues, insecurities, and just even self-hatred. There was a lot of self-hatred towards myself. And so there was so much that I needed to learn about me that was unprocessed when I got into the relationship with him. So for the past 8 years, I have been in therapy. Like I said, I started therapy back in 2013. I have been in therapy since that time, not because I'm crazy, not because I got a whole lot of stuff going on, but because I really value, taking care of myself, not only physically, but emotionally. So I've been in therapy and doing intentional personal development work. I have joined organizations like Real Women Rock and all those things, reading books, journaling, being around women who are also focused on their own personal development. And so it's just really taking the steps that I needed to in order to, get the support that I needed in order to heal. So it's been a journey. As you can see, it's been a journey. And so over this time, over the 8 years, I did not have a lot of interaction with my ex-husband. As you can imagine, like I said, I was hurt, I was shocked, I was feeling all types of emotions. And so I was very guarded. I felt like I was betrayed. I felt like I was deceived. And so I was very guarded as a result of that. So sometimes he may reach out to ask a question or to share things with me. But because I was still dealing with a lot of those emotions, I just wasn't very I wasn't a conversationalist with him. I gave him probably one word answers or very short, because I'm the type of person who is very loving. But if you do something to me, baby, you will see another side of me. So I will shut down. I will cut you off, and especially back then. So over this period of time for the 8 years, I just really shut down. I didn't have a lot to say to him, and I realized that I was dealing with a lot of just hurt and anger, frustration, irritation. When he would reach out. And some of my friends would be like, well, why don't you block him? But I don't know. I never did. I just felt like maybe it was a way for me to get back at him in some kind of way to let him know that he didn't have access to me. I don't know, who knows? But, for a while, that's how I conducted myself. So there wasn't a lot of communication between us. So then last year with the pandemic, I had a lot of time to just sit and reflect. I was in a relationship for 2 years, probably, for the past 2 years. And so back in April of last year, I ended that relationship. So the remainder of 2020 up until now, I have really just been focusing on me and just doing some self-reflecting, looking at myself relationally and just really getting to understand more about who I am. So I was having a conversation with one of my friends and we were talking about relationships. And so he was asking me, he said, you know what, you hold grudges against people. And I was like, really? Do I? Because, I feel like I've been going to therapy. I've been doing my work. What you mean I've been holding grudges? But when I really sat and thought about it, I was holding a huge grudge, and it's almost like I held it as a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I held a grudge. I've been cheated on, and he did this to me, and all this kind of stuff. And even though I wasn't fully blaming him for everything, a part of me still wanted to hold on to being a victim, right? So it just kind of feels good to know that somebody did something to you, and you get to say, well, you did this to me, and all this kind of stuff. But so there was a piece of me that still wanted to be a victim as it relates to this. So when I had the conversation with my friend and they revealed to me that, they observed that I hold grudges, I just really started to sit and think about that. And they were right. Like, he was right. I do hold grudges. Because like I said, when you do something to me, my wall go up and you never have emotional access to me again. And so I'll be very cold, very distant, and all of that. And so, after hearing that and really reflecting on myself, I really thought about, you know what, I really want to learn how to be intentional about using my words. So what I mean by that is, when I shut down, I don't express how I feel. But I wanted to change that, because one of the reasons why I don't stay open is because I'm shutting down and not telling the person how I feel. So I'm using a defense mechanism instead of just communicating like, hey, what you did really hurt me, and I want to tell you about that so that I can release it and not hold on to it. So last year I said, you know what, I really want to be intentional about using my words. When somebody does something to me, I want to share it with them and let them know, so that I can remain open and not put up this guard. So that's what I did, starting last year and for the rest of last year on into this year. And I really started to see my growth and to confront some things about that I was still holding on to with certain people, and just really confront some feelings. So fast forward to last month. This month actually. So we're still in January. So fast forward to this month. And on a relationship talks episode that I did with Nat Burns, who was on the show. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he has a IG live called the God Hour. So he and I were talking about whether marriage over 40 was worth it. And during that conversation, we talked about, or he shared during that conversation, that he had a conversation with his ex-wife, and he had her on his show, and they talked about their marriage. And it was something about him saying that really planted a seed. And I feel like the seed was planted and watered all at the same time. So I said, so I sat with that while we were on the live. And when we got off the show, I really sat and started thinking about it. And I said to myself, what if I had a conversation with my ex-husband? What if I had a conversation with him, human to human, not as someone who did this and that to me, not as someone who is this villain, but as me, human, talking to him as a human, just to have an understanding of his mindset during the time, and just so I can understand what he may have been going through during that time. And so I read to you, a snippet of what I was experiencing. And I shared with you some of the things that I went through. But I guess because of the personal development work that I've done, it's like I just wanted to know how he was feeling. Where was his mind? What was he going through at the time? Because I started to learn what I was going through. I started to see like the things that I was struggling with and that I hadn't dealt with. So what if he was going through the same thing? What if we were two extremely broken souls that just needed to, that just made an unhealthy decision? What if that was it, And so it caused a lot of turmoil and a lot of chaos. But when you get down to the root of it, maybe he was just as broken as I was. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe I should reach out to him, maybe. So I thought about it that night, and then I talked to my friend, and, and I was like, should I? I don't know. And I started to talk myself out of it. Nah, I shouldn't do that. What? I'm tripping. That's probably not a good idea, right? Why would I do that? So that night I just kind of, I won't do it. And then the next morning, I woke up and I had that same feeling like you need to reach out to him. Mm-mm-mm. So I am very in tune, spiritually. And so when I feel those kind of nudgings, those promptings, I realize that this ain't me, because me wouldn't do anything like that, right? So, but there was a part of me that did want to reach out, and so because I felt that prompting, I said to myself, I said, "Self, let's go ahead and reach out." And before I sent the text message, I asked myself, will you be okay if he says he's not interested in having a conversation? So I needed to check in with myself to make sure that I would be okay if he didn't want to talk. So that, and I was okay with it. I still felt a peace about reaching out. And so I knew that this had to be, a divine thing that was happening within me. And so I sent the text message and I reached out, and it was such a healing conversation. And I think what was beautiful about it was I wasn't looking for him to apologize to me. I wasn't looking for him to give me anything like to make me feel better. I honestly just wanted to know how he was doing, what was going on with him at the time. And I'm grateful for the work that he has done, because he so beautifully shared with me his heart. He so beautifully shared with me his mindset at the time. We walked all the way back to before we got married, because I forgot to mention that we got married in 90 days, which I don't recommend. We knew each other like 10 years. So we had a friendship, a long distance friendship. But when we really started to date and work towards marriage, it was only 90 days. And so it was very fast. So we talked about what our mindset was before we got married. We even both admitted that we probably shouldn't have gotten married, that it probably wasn't a good idea, given the mindset that we were in. We talked about just how we felt about being, in the marriage, how he felt, what he was dealing with, what led to his decisions. I shared with him what led me to my decisions and the part I felt I played in us divorcing and the demise of our marriage. And so it was a beautiful exchange between two adults who didn't want to attack each other, who didn't want to do anything other than hear each other and understand each other's perspective. So we talked probably about an hour. And after that conversation, it was like a weight was lifted. A weight was lifted that I didn't even know I was carrying. And it was a release that needed to happen. So whatever unresolved feelings I had towards him, whatever blaming I may have, whatever victim mentality I may have been holding on to, was released through that conversation. And I was so grateful for it. And it's just like I sat and I just cried, because I was like, yeah, it was time. It was time to let it go. And I could only thank God, because I really felt like that was a God moment. Like, stuff like that is indescribable, inexplainable. How in the world can you have experienced so much hurt, so much pain, so much betrayal and deception, and then be at a place where you can release it all and just relate to this person, human to human? Nobody but God can do something like that. And so I felt a sense of release. I felt a sense of peace. And I felt like I had given myself space to love even more. And I had I just had accessed another area of my heart where I could be open to love even more, because my heart, I felt compassion towards him. And I also wanted what was best for him. Like, moving forward, I just wanted him to be happy. I wanted him to be well. Like, there was no ill will towards him. So it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I just couldn't keep it to myself. So that's why I wanted to come on and share that with you, because I didn't think that was just for me. And I asked him if he wanted to come on live with me. He wasn't able to come on live with me during this discussion, but I just wanted to be able to share this moment with you because I believe that there is somebody out there who may have experienced, being cheated on and probably experienced something even worse than me. I don't know. But I just want you to understand, excuse me, that we don't have to carry the weight of resentment and blaming the other person and carry the hurt and the pain with us, because it really just keeps us from experiencing what we truly want to experience. And so I want to share with you, how did I get there? So I know I've shared a lot. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you can relate to what I have shared, please, share it with me in the chat, because I would love to hear from you as well. But, I want to talk about how in the world did I get there? How do you get to a point where you've experienced so much, from someone, and then you get to a point of releasing it? So for me, I think it's been so many things, and I probably can't even pinpoint every little thing. But I will say things started to turn around for me when I went to therapy. So starting therapy, and I know sometimes it's hard to find a good therapist, but I got a good one, y'all. So if you need one, reach out to me, inbox me, and I can share his information with you. He is an amazing, amazing therapist. And so I went to therapy. That was step one for me. I needed help. I needed to admit that I can't do this by myself. All of the things that I had shared, all of the things that I have experienced, I didn't have the tools to do it by myself. I needed some professional help, and I wasn't ashamed to admit that. I had been reading the Bible, I had been praying and going to church and all of that stuff, and I needed a therapist. So, and I realized that nothing was wrong with that. So I started going to therapy, and then I always have been the person that journaled. So I started journaling. And just really getting my thoughts out, my raw emotions. Like if you go back to that time frame, you probably saw or read a whole lot of stuff about how I was really feeling back then, but I needed to get it out of me. I also joined a group called Real Women Rock. So it was a support group just of women who just want to get real. We want to take off the mask and really deal with the stuff that we have going on. So that's another thing that I did. And I've been a part of that organization for the past 8 years. And it really helped me to deal with my stuff, like real stuff, and not be ashamed to share it. And I also talked with friends, who challenged me, who asked me probing questions. I prayed, I read the Bible, and just all of those things. Like I had all hands on deck, and I had a coach. I had 2 coaches. So I needed help, y'all. I had been through so much dysfunction and so much trauma that I needed all the professional help that I could get from all different avenues, to really help me learn how to live a healthy life. So I will say those were the major things that really helped to change the trajectory of my life. And then what helped me to really make that decision to reach out to my ex-husband and have that healing conversation, I waited until I felt ready to have the conversation. I don't know. I couldn't have had it a year ago. I wasn't ready. As a matter of fact, a year ago, I remember sending him a text message telling him we ain't going, all kind of stuff. I really told him how I felt, right? So I wasn't ready a year ago. But when I got that prompting, when I felt that prompting to really reach out, I knew that I was ready, and God knew that I was ready. And I knew I was ready when I didn't need an apology from him. I didn't need for him to explain why he did it. I just wanted to understand what he was going through. Just like I would want to understand, if I was sitting with a client or if I was sitting with one of my friends, like, I wonder what happened. No judgment, nothing of that sort. I just wanted to know what he was feeling, And on top of that, as he shared his truth, I went back to a space of when I had done the same thing to somebody. I remember when I had betrayed a friend, when I had been deceitful towards a friend. So I understood how somebody can be in the mindset that he was in. So it's like I put myself in his shoes, and it made it even more clearer to me what happened. And so it was just one of those things where I was ready, and I knew I was ready because of, the work that I had done and the promptings that I received, and knowing that I didn't need anything from him. Like, there was a transformation in my heart that had happened, and this was the next step for me to truly and fully let go. So I made a conscious decision, to let go. And since that time, I will tell you with no lies, no, I'm really being transparent and honest with you, that I have released it. I feel so much peace. Like I said, I wish him well, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I know that I have freed up space in my heart, and it's just a beautiful feeling. It's a lighter feeling. It's a feeling like he and I could have a conversation now without me anything rising up or bubbling up, so it's nothing, it's indescribable, and I can't believe that I'm in this space. It's a beautiful thing, and like I said, this has to be a God thing, and just a testament of his healing power. And it just was time for me to let go. So I shared all of that because, like I said, I believe that when we go through things, it's not just for us. It's for us to share and help other people. And so I am not an expert. I am the You relationship coach, but I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. I'm just simply modeling the process. I'm just showing you that I'm doing my work, and I invite you to do your work. So I invite you to purchase my book if you want to know more about how to if you want to know more about my story, if you want to know more about what I've gone through and just a lot of the trauma and what led me to that situation, then I encourage you to purchase my book. It's on Amazon, and you can just look up my name, Shavon Carter, or Dear Miss Wholeness, to find that book. And I appreciate, you purchasing the book. And if you are interested in getting, support, if you're like, okay, I hear you, I appreciate you sharing your story, but I'm just not there. I don't know how to get there. I don't know, the first steps to take. One of my passions is to help you walk through that process and to journey with you. So I want to help you release the bitterness. And I know it's not an overnight process. Like I said, this has taken me 8 years to do. And so it's not an overnight, and I will not lie to you and tell you that it is. It's hard, it's challenging, it's ugly, but I wouldn't change it for anything else. It's worth the fight. It's worth the investment. It's worth, you doing the work. To heal and to really work on yourself. And so I want to offer you an opportunity for coaching sessions. If you want to work with me and have me walk you through the process of how you can have access to more love, more peace, more love for yourself, more peace with other people, then I invite you to reach out to me. My website is walkinginwholenessllc.com, or you can look up ShavonCarter.com. It'll take you to the same website, and we can talk about coaching sessions. So I have a form that you can fill out, and I just want to support you. This is what I've been created to do, and I am also doing the work. So I'm not, like I said, somebody that's sitting on high telling you, this is what you should do, but I'm in the trenches with you doing my own work. And so I just want to walk you through the process of doing yours. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. So I hope that you have been encouraged. I hope that you have been enlightened. I hope that you have been just inspired, or just confirming some things for you. If you have gone through a similar process, then, I hope that this has confirmed something for you. Or I hope that if there has been a prompting in you to reach out to someone that you need to just, get resolved or reconcile with, that maybe this is the conversation that you needed to hear in order to make that step. So I will tell you, I know it doesn't work for everybody, but if you're at a point where you feel like you can handle no matter what happens, then I encourage you to make that decision, because it definitely freed me up, and it really helped me to heal on an even deeper level than I had experienced before. So thank you for watching. This has been another episode of Relationship Talks with your host, Shavon Carter, the You Relationship Coach. And until next time, good night.